What if Tesla isn't really a car company? Because the cars may be only the beginning. Tesla is building something far more valuable, a business where the same vehicle can generate revenue from software, charging, energy, insurance, data, and eventually autonomous rides. And if that strategy works, Tesla won't make most of its money by selling cars. It will make money from what those cars become after they're sold. When people look at Tesla, they see factories. They see Model 3s, Model Ys, Cybertrucks, and electric vehicles. They see a car company. And financially, that makes sense. In 2025, Tesla generated about $94.8 billion in total revenue. Automotive sales represented the largest portion, at roughly $65.8 billion. But here's where the story gets interesting. Tesla is already much more than automotive sales. Its business includes energy storage, charging, insurance, services, regulatory credits, and increasingly, software and artificial intelligence. So the real question isn't, how many cars can Tesla sell? The better question is, how many different ways can Tesla monetize each customer? And that changes everything. For a traditional automaker, the business model is relatively simple. Build a car. Sell the car. Make a profit. Then try to sell the customer another car several years later. The problem? It's mostly a one-time transaction. A customer might spend $40,000 or $50,000 on a vehicle. But once the transaction is completed, the manufacturer has already captured most of that economic value. Tesla started with the same basic transaction. But it built something different around it. Instead of thinking, how do we sell more cars? Tesla's strategy increasingly became, how do we make every Tesla worth more after it leaves the factory? That's a completely different business philosophy. Because the car becomes a platform. And platforms can produce recurring revenue. Think about your smartphone. Apple doesn't stop making money when you buy an iPhone. The device connects you to an ecosystem. Apps. Subscriptions. Cloud services. Payments. Accessories. And other products. Tesla has been moving toward a similar model. The vehicle isn't just hardware. It's a connected computer on wheels. Tesla can provide software updates over the air. It can sell access to software capabilities. It can monetize charging. It can offer insurance. It can generate service revenue. And its vehicles can potentially become part of autonomous transportation networks. That's the key. The sale of the car can be the beginning of the relationship, not the end. Now imagine two businesses. Company A sells you a $50,000 product. After the sale, the relationship largely ends. Company B sells you a $50,000 product, but can continue selling you software and services for years. Which business has more potential lifetime value? That's where Tesla's software strategy becomes important. Features like full self-driving are not simply traditional car options. They represent a different economic model. Hardware gets installed once. Software can potentially be improved repeatedly. And software can potentially be sold to the same customer multiple times. That creates something traditional automakers have historically struggled to build. Recurring monetization. Tesla expects products such as FSD subscriptions and its Robotaxi service to help advance a service-driven business model based on artificial intelligence and fleet-based profits. And that idea may be more important than almost any headline about Tesla's car deliveries. Because it tells you where the company thinks the future value is. But there's another piece investors sometimes underestimate. Energy. Tesla isn't only putting batteries inside vehicles. It's building an energy business around batteries. Powerwall. Megapack. Grid-scale storage. Solar-related products. and energy management. In 2025, Tesla's energy generation and storage revenue reached approximately $12.8 billion, up 27% from the previous year. Even more interesting, Tesla reported a gross margin of nearly 30% for its energy generation and storage business in 2025. That's strategically important. Because Tesla's future doesn't necessarily depend on squeezing more profit out of every car. It can build multiple businesses around the same core technologies: batteries, software, artificial intelligence, manufacturing, and energy infrastructure. The car may simply be one of the largest distribution platforms for those technologies. Then there's the part most people don't associate with Tesla: services, used vehicles, maintenance, collision repair, paid supercharging, insurance, parts. Tesla generated more than $12.5 billion in services and other revenue in 2025. This matters because services extend the economic relationship with the customer. The customer buys the vehicle. Then they charge it, insure it, service it, potentially subscribe to software. And eventually, if autonomous driving reaches scale, potentially use the vehicle as transportation infrastructure. Suddenly, Tesla isn't just selling a $50,000 machine. It's building a system around that machine. And systems are much harder to compete with than individual products. There's another fascinating part of Tesla's business model: regulatory credits. Tesla produces electric vehicles and earns certain tradable credits under environmental regulations. It can then sell those credits to other automakers that need them for compliance. In 2025, Tesla generated nearly $2 billion from automotive regulatory credits. Think about how unusual that is. Tesla's competitors aren't only competing against Tesla. Under certain regulatory systems, some competitors have effectively become customers of Tesla's regulatory credit business. That's a powerful example of how Tesla can monetize advantages created by its position in the electric vehicle market. But there's an important caveat. Regulatory credit revenue isn't guaranteed forever. Tesla's own filings acknowledge that changes in regulations and demand from other manufacturers can affect this revenue stream. And that's exactly why the bigger story isn't credits. It's what comes next. Now we reach the most ambitious part of the model: autonomous driving. Imagine Tesla sells a vehicle. The customer owns it. But software eventually allows that vehicle to operate autonomously. Now the vehicle could potentially become more than personal transportation. It could become an income-generating asset. And Tesla could potentially participate in the economics of the transportation service. Tesla launched its Robotaxi service in 2025 and has described autonomous ride-hailing, FSD subscriptions, and purpose-built vehicles such as Cybercab as components of a potential service-driven business model. This is why the Tesla story becomes so much bigger than electric cars. Because a traditional car has an economic life measured largely by ownership and resale. A sufficiently capable autonomous vehicle could potentially generate economic activity throughout much of its useful life. That is a completely different business model. But this is critical. It is still a bet, not a guaranteed outcome. Autonomous driving faces technical, regulatory, safety, and economic challenges. So investors shouldn't confuse Tesla's vision with guaranteed future revenue. But as a business strategy, the potential is enormous. And now we can see the entire strategy. Tesla sells vehicles. More vehicles create a larger installed base. A larger installed base creates more charging demand. More vehicles generate more data. More data can support AI development. Better software can increase the value of the vehicles. More valuable vehicles can support higher software adoption. Energy storage expands the battery business. Manufacturing scale can reduce costs. And autonomous driving could eventually transform vehicles into transportation assets. That's a flywheel. And this is the most important concept in the entire story. Tesla doesn't necessarily need every individual product to be the final profit engine. Each product can strengthen another part of the ecosystem. That's how technology companies think. Not necessarily like traditional automakers. So, is Tesla actually a car company? Technically, yes. Cars still generate the majority of its revenue. But strategically, that's only part of the story. The bigger ambition is to build a vertically integrated ecosystem around electricity, batteries, software, artificial intelligence, mobility, and infrastructure. And that leads to the question investors should really be asking. What happens if Tesla succeeds in turning every car it sells into a platform that keeps generating economic value for years? Because if that happens, Tesla's biggest business may not be the cars sitting in your driveway. It may be everything those cars can do after you buy them.